Right, let's get this thing started, because I'm wrecked from last night. I'm guessing everybody else is as well. Right, where we're going to start. Right, welcome to On Safari with Baltech, starring, oddly enough, me, Baltech. I'd also like to welcome everybody via the magic that is the internet, which I wasn't told about before I was doing this thing, so there's something good. There's another name for this presentation, a bad guide to ship fitting by a plonker, which is pretty much what this is going to be. Right, now I do have to warn you about when I'm starting. You're not going to be learning anything from this that's going to be useful to you. I'm not going to bore you with a load of graphs, various charts, and there's bullet points. Other things, because I know far too many office workers in this room, and they absolutely hate presentations like this. Right, what I'm going to be doing is dragging you into my slightly warped world of ship fitting. The FCs are probably going to absolutely hate me for this, because I know my FCs hate me for this. So first of all, who am I? For those of you who don't know me. I'm Baltech1 from Pandemic Legion, in a little called Backcountry. The best way to describe Pandemic Legion, it's a bit of a boogeyman, sort of like a heartless machine, goes around relentlessly destroying everything it touches, along with our Alliance Tournament chances as well, because we do have a slight history of violating a few boundaries. Over the last 2 years, I've been with these nutters, and I've taken part from everything from solo right up to huge fleet, including knocking down the Imperium's Northern Empire, which brought a lot of fun, which kind of makes this next little bit a little bit problematic, because for 6 years I was with these guys. Sorry. But it was with these guys that I kind of made a name for myself, flying a single ship, no matter what the fleet was, or as I put it, EVE's most stubborn Megathron pilot. I even got a catchphrase, I'm not even joking about this, which has a double meaning. Never, not mega. Some say I got to do it because I'm a good pilot, but truth be told, I'm just as bad at this game as anybody else. What I do have is 12 years of making some pretty horrendous mistakes. So I've learned quite a bit, some of which I went over last year, which seemingly went down well enough for them to invite me back for another go. I really can't imagine why. Who knows, so let's crack on. EVE is, right, to put it bluntly, a little bit complicated for when you're starting out. And I'm going to do a very dangerous thing here. I'm going to see if anybody can guess how many ships are available for players. Nobody? Way more. Well, you're getting closer. 334 ships available to players. Granted, some are a little bit more useful than others. On top of that, you have thousands of modules. Now, I did try and count them, because I counted the ships. I thought, oh, I'll count the modules. And I think I got through like most of the laser turrets, and I realized that was a really bad idea, because there's so many of them, so I'm just going to say thousands. Now, on top of that, you've got hundreds of rigs, and then you've got everything else. Drones, ammo, cap charges, dead bodies, you know, all sorts you can fit inside your ship. What this does mean is that there's potentially millions of fits out there, which is absolutely staggering. I mean, just take this one, the Apocalypse. There are so many ways you can fit this ship, it can be intimidating. So a lot of people just copy what's on the kill boards or go with whatever the FCs tell them to do, and that is perfectly fine, because, quite frankly, it can be a bit of a mindfuck going through these things. But some people, they're a little bit more nutty, and they just go wild with their fits. Granted, these people, they'll forge a path of chaos, confusion, and generally it ends in miserable failure and a hilarious kill mill. Much like the first battleship I owned. And that Armageddon I got way back in 2006. Thankfully, the fits lost to time because this was before the kill boards were tracking every move. Because I lost this thing when I was belt ratting to the belt rats. Which brings me to a pretty harsh truth about this thing. It's so easy to get it wrong. Like millions of ways to get it wrong. And a classic example is fitting the wrong prop mod. Right, let's see a show of hands. How many people here have fitted the wrong prop mod? Damn near everybody. Everybody who hasn't put their hands up, it's either it hasn't happened to you or you're a damn liar. But undersized prop mods very, very rarely work. However, oversized is a slightly different story. Say hello to the thorax, the galaxy's favorite dirty joke. Now, normally, if you fit for a cruise, say the thorax in this case, you go armor tank hybrids, tackle 50mm micro warp drive, but let's face it, that's boring. So what we've done here. First thing we did, rip out that tiny prop mod and bolt on 100mm afterburner. Now, it's a bit like sticking a Merlin engine of a Spitfire into a smart car. Sounds like a brilliant idea, but it can go horribly wrong. And just like the smart car, everything else has to go around this engine. So firstly, shield tank, because, you know, it's an armor tank, so let's shield tank it. But there is a reason, because you don't want to slow it down. And it's a little harder to fit the plates. So you go with a shield tank. You go for electron blasters, partly for the tracking, mostly because that's what you can fit. 2 damage mods, DCU, pair of overdrives because we want more power out of this engine. Scram web and ancillary rig because without that it doesn't fit. And what you end up with is a slightly bonkers cruiser that can, because it's an afterburner, scrams won't shut the thing down. So generally speaking, you can outrun anything that can kill you and kill anything else, really. But there is a problem with oversized prop mods. Not all of them work too well, as you can see with this one. Now, I decided to go with what I dubbed the hot rod project. It was basically try and get a stabber as fast as I could get it to take out interceptors, because what's more hilarious than a cruiser running down an interceptor that's burning away from you? So what I did was I slapped on a 500mm micro warp drive. Yeah. Now, I mean, to put this in mind, this is a bit like strapping AK-47s and an RPG to a Saturn V rocket. It is insane. Unsurprisingly, there's a few issues with this. The first thing is the micro warp drive is hideously massive. So you need all these fitting mods, basically just to fit the mic warp drive. And unfortunately, because of the fitting room, you had to go with small weapons, which kind of defeats the purpose of the ship. Because, yeah, you can catch the thing, but, yeah, good luck killing it. It's also very, very thirsty, unsurprisingly. So you need a lot of cap mods to keep this thing going. I mean, it's a stabber. The only thing you've got running is the prop mod. Everything else is basically capless. By far the biggest problem, though, comes from the mod itself, because this thing's designed for battleships, so it's very slow to get the thing up to speed. It's just as slow at slowing down, and you generally have the agility of the solar system. So this thing does not turn around easy, which kind of sounds familiar. And just like Jack, sounds really fun at the start, but it's really not worth it in the end. And getting the most bang for your buck is a bit important because generally speaking, I mean, oh, my wallet looks like that pretty much all the time. So getting the best bang for your risk is really important. So you want something that's going to realistically get through a gear camp, let's say. And that's where these little guys come in. Stealth bombers are, quite frankly, amazing little ships. And I I've said to everybody that's getting into EVE, get into a stealth bomber because you're immensely useful no matter what the fleet is. Fairly fast to train into, fairly cheap, pack an almighty punch, and most importantly, they get a CovOps cloak. Now, for those not in the know of what a CovOps cloak is and what the difference is between the different one, CovOps cloak lets you sneak around in warp. The rest of them are shit. Now, there's a few ways to go about fitting them. I mean, Lord knows, Plaintiff's got like 1 billion fits for these things now. But when I go about fitting mine, I like to have a little bit of a tank, because generally speaking, I do tend to get shot at a bit. So we'll go with, because Titan's a little bit fit, you have to go with the Arbalest torpedo launchers. You then fit a CovOps cloak. Now, again, make sure it's a CovOps cloak, because a few months back, I imported a load of these things to a staging point, not realizing I bought the wrong cloaks, which meant I had a week of sitting there with useless ships before I got another delivery in. Now, this is the bit where I get into a lot of arguments over with other bomber pilots. I don't go for micro-warp drive, I go for an afterburner. Does make getting through the gate camps a little bit more difficult, but it does help with your tanking when it comes to actually taking something on solo, which is what this is basically designed for. The tank itself, you go with a medium extender, EM Ward, and a DCU. It's not brilliant, but it works. I mean, I've tanked Myrmidon's drones using this tank while I killed the Myrmidon. Granted, he wasn't a very good pilot, but yeah, that's goons for you. Then you go with damage mods and a bay loader. And finally, warp disruptor, probe launcher, and another ancillary current router, because for some strange reason I can't get any fittings that don't require one these days. This is the one I've been using in Delve quite a lot, playing space U-boats. And it's a fun ship, but a sneaky ship requires a sneaky little tactic. So first thing I do is go directly to their main staging system. Set up all my bookmarks around all the stations, the gates, the jump bridge, now any moons that happen to have something on it, which is turning quite interesting. And then once I've done all that, I find out where the traffic goes. Find the gate, warp your safe, warp down to 20 kilometers to the gate, and then you slow boat to a spot that isn't in line with anything else. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. Around each gate, there's like a Goldilocks zone for cloaked ships. And a ship will stay cloaked as long as nothing gets within 2,000 meters of it. A jump gate will let you jump at 2,500 meters. That means you've got a 500-meter zone where you can stay cloaked and be in jump range at the same time. So what this means is that you're effectively camping both sides of this gate now. So anything that comes to you and jumps through, you can jump through after it. Anything that jumps through the gate, you're in perfect tackle range for it. But one of the golden rules of flying the ship is never get within scram or web range. Because if you do that, very bad things can happen to you if you're in the Goon main staging system. And I mean very bad things. I'm not even lying about this. I have had so many nixes dropped on me. It's unbelievable. But I've got to say, I wonder what that one's up now. Moving on. Again, I'm going to ask the audience again. Let's say a show of hands. How many people would describe themselves as industrialists? Let's see your hands. Well, there's a few scattered about. I'm not going to get too many punches for this one. As far as reputations go, industrialists don't have a good one. But is a 97% snuggly rating really deserved? Well, some ships are not exactly great. Take this one, Coveter. At the job of mining, yeah, it's fine. But the ship does have some serious downsides. First off, officially, it's a shield tanker. That doesn't exactly work too well when you've got a single mid slot to play with. So, next you get poor power grid and CPU. I mean, to describe how poor the power grid is, there's a lot of frigates that actually have more power grid than this thing. But that doesn't really matter because you've got 2 high slots, a mid, 3 lows and 3 rigs, which is basically, you can't fit anything on the thing. So outside of mining, it's not a great ship. And a lot of people expect this of industrial ships. They expect them to be very, very poor ships. Well, that's what most people think. That's not exactly the case. Who remembers these? Yeah, there's a few of you. Old farts that you are. This one's from 2010. And I actually did forget how great these things were. Because they have a slack talk section in the back, and this one always cracks me up about the colon. But these things would have interviews, stories, battle reports, and challenges. This particular one is 50 million or less for a PvP ship. Now, there was loads of entries, 6 got selected. Now, bear in mind, this is a product of its time. The first one is the Rupture. Now, it's fair to say it's hit harder times since then. Next up, you've got always a favourite in low sec, Navy Slicer. The next one, unsurprising for 2010, Drakes. Thousands of them, everywhere. Next up, you have the Sabre, quite possibly one of the most popular ships ever in EVE. Then you've got the Blackbird, quite possibly one of the most hated ships in all of EVE. But the last one was Night Run Mark V. And there was a very good reason for this one getting selected, because it was bonkers. And I should know, because this is mine. So, and it's probably the most infuriating ship to die to, and that's because it's only got the single gun on it. So no matter what you try to kill, it takes a long time to kill it. And at the time, it spotted a fairly decent tank, could do surprisingly well against frigates, destroyers, the odd mining battleship. And I've got really good news for you, because despite the fact CCP nerfed this one, they did sneak in a buff to haulers. I really hope I'm pronouncing this one right, because this is the Neuros. Quite possibly the most underrated ship in EVE. Because, I mean, on the surface, there doesn't really seem to be anything special or decent about this thing. Certainly not from the bonuses. 5% bonus to cargo, 5% bonus to inertia, and 90% reduction to jump fatigue. Fairly bog standard. Then things start going a little bit more nuts. It gets 4.5 AU warp speed, which is a little bit unusual. But what really sets it apart is that it gets a drone bay. Now, a lot of people will look at this ship and not realize that it actually has a drone bay, because you're not looking for it, are you, on a hauler? But of course, that's no good if you can't tank this thing. And, oh boy, it can tank. Using the exact same fit that I used on my old hauler, you get at least a 400 DPS tank. Unless you shoot it with explosive ammo, then it jumps to 900. So, yeah, sorry, Mimitar. And the best part of this is it's impossible to turn off this tank. You can nuke this thing dry, and it'll just sit there happily smiling away. You're just sitting there frustrating you, just sort of like, yeah, you can't shoot me, and I've got ammo for weeks. So yeah, I mean, this is just one example. There are other industrial ships that can get a little bonkers. So industrials, yeah, not quite as helpless as you think. Which kind of got me thinking, just how easy can you get into PvP? So I did what I didn't think I was going to do before, and I started an alpha clone. Now, to keep things fair, I decided to randomly pick an empire, rather than try and make it easy for me. And that one turned out to be Amar. Yeah. I then spent the next hour playing around with the character creation, because I just couldn't help myself. But eventually, I did come up with a fairly glum character called Super Badazaz. Now, after doing the tutorial, he was ready to shoot some pilots. And what better way to do that than to join the war effort? So I joined up, slapped on whatever the hell I could on my ship, joined a random fleet that just happened to be advertised, and they were actually really cool. They got me on the Discord comms, invited me to the corp, started fighting each other over me, because apparently they get paid $1 billion for every new recruit they get. So that's probably why they were so eager. And within half an hour of finishing the tutorial, I got on that kill. A half artillery, half auto cannon Maelstrom, which was a really good start. Unsurprisingly, it didn't continue like that. I spent the next week feeding the locals my ships. But it's not as bad as you think. Yeah, your skills will let you down. I wasn't held by the fact I haven't actually flown frigates like this for like 7, 8 years. So I was really bad at it. And the fit wasn't exactly amazing either, because basically it was everything I got off the tutorial, plus a little few bits and pieces I found in cans, floating about. But it doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long before you can start holding your own. And this is the fit I had, which damn near brought down a Navy Comet. I say almost, because before I could kill him, I got this. Right, sometimes you get unlucky. That day I got very unlucky, because this is what caused it. Yeah, I had no heating for the next week. So, weather aside, yes, you will die, and die a lot. But it really doesn't take long for you to get the hang of things, because the tutorials, oddly enough, do kind of let you in for it. They tell you how to orbit, tell you how to keep range now, which does come in handy, because generally speaking, you're trying to orbit or trying to keep range, depending on how you're playing with your frigates. And it doesn't take long for you to fall into it. Which brings me kind of back to the start. Yes, it is easy to cook up a really bad fit. That gets you killed. But, quite honestly, that's where the fun is. And that's what it is at the end of the day, having fun. I mean, if you've got an interceptor gang coming in, throw a rapid light Armageddon at them, just for the giggles, because why not? If you want to bait that cruiser, hull tank porpoise, because again, why not? It's going to hang around and try and kill that thing. And if you need firepower, but you don't want to scare people away too quickly, well, why not a surprise Megathron? The options are genuinely damn near endless. You probably cook up something god-awful. I mean, I know I have over the years. But some of them will make, by far, some of your fondest memories. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Now, I've actually piled through this one about 5 minutes quicker than I thought. So I'm down to the questions already. So if we've got the mic out already, have we? Somewhere? Over there. So if you've got any questions, you can fire away. And nobody gets up. Well, so you all must be wrecked. Oh, you couldn't have drunk that much, man. Seriously, nobody's got questions.
Yeah, I mean, so what's your craziest rookie ship fit?
Craziest rookie fit ship? I did experiment with a Logi rookie ship before, which is kind of mad. Which it kind of actually worked as well. I mean, not great because it's a rookie ship. But yeah, double blast Ibis I've done before. That was a fun one. Died pretty much instantly. But I mean, it's rookie ships. The key to a rookie ship is pretty much don't get noticed. key to survival. Or you can fit ECM on there. Then you will get noticed. If you get the jam off, it will be the most irritating thing that's ever happened to that band. So yeah, do that one. Do that one. Fit ECM to it.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, what was the dumbest idea you have ever had that actually worked genius?
Nano Dreadnought. I shit you not. I mean, the idea was baked out of alcohol again. It was dubbed Project Moby Dick because everybody wants to hunt that whale. It was before all the high-angle weapons came in. I decided, right, well, because I'll get the Megathron to go as fast as a frigate, just how fast can you get a Dreadnought to go? And it turns out you can get the thing to go cruiser speed, in warp speed, and you can get it to line pretty damn quick. And I had the perfect target at the time to go against. It was Moa. And oddly enough, they didn't bring out their normal destroyers. They actually brought out a battle cruiser fleet to come and chase me down. But because they were battle cruisers, they couldn't catch. So that was fairly hilarious. But when they eventually did catch up to me, they brought out, I think it was a pair of bombers, Sabre, I can't remember what the other one was. And of course, I sent the thing into siege, and Alfred the bomber, Alfred the Sabre, and then everything else just had to clear off because they don't know what's going on here. But it was a terrible idea because I'm armor tanking a Phoenix. I've got the mids full of things to make it hit properly. I've got cruise missiles. I've got ascendancy implants in the thing. It was hideous. And unsurprisingly, I think it was Snuff that figured out that this thing was roaming about and decided to drop a shit ton of bombers on it and put it out of its misery.
What are your thoughts on Battle Ventures?
Battle Ventures? They're the best thing in the world.
No further questions.
That's it. Anybody else? Oh, you're just a stork like you lot, aren't you? I'd say I wish everyone was this well behaved.
You've talked a lot about your individual crazy fits. Have you ever done sort of like group insanity?
Yes. Yes. We did come up with, it was a few years ago, with the concept of rooks flying around just as a fleet by itself. The concept behind that one was basically you've got the rook itself could be able to kill the target and jam the target at the same time, and because everybody's in a rook, someone's bound to land and DCM jam on it. It was a really infuriating fleet to fly, but I mean probably the best one was running around in High-Sec doing the ice interdictions. It was when the Gang Catalyst was brand new. I wouldn't take credit for that fit. That was Warkeeney's baby. But basically we figured out that Caldari ice is only available in Caldari space and Goon space. So we told Goons, don't sell ice to anybody. And then we bought, I think it was something like 20,000 catalysts. And we just did non-stop fleets in High-Sec, killing everything in the ice belts. And made an absolute fortune selling the ice and the resulting chaos that came out of that one. But the logistics of that one was insane. That's probably the worst one we've done, because it was just insane setting everything up for that.
And one other one was that when you've had something that you've fought up and you really want to work, and it doesn't work the first time, what's maybe your record for the amount of times that you've gone out and died in it till you've actually found out how to fly it properly?
Ooh, how to fly it properly? It has to be, going way back, was the Arbitrator. Because I loved the look of that ship. That's the only reason I got that ship. I loved the look of it. But I just could not figure out how to fit the thing. And it took me months to figure it out. And by that point, we'd moved on to other things, and I couldn't fly it anymore. Well, it's an arbitrator. It's useless. Well, that's true. Yeah, fit a sign. Well, you can fit a sign onto anything and surprise people. Anybody else? Drakes. Hands down, Drakes. We just got sick of the sight of the damn things. The worst part wasn't the fact that you couldn't kill them, it's just the fact that everybody had an endless supply of the damn things. So no matter how many fleets you took down, another one just came in and took its place.
What fleet are you most proud of?
Harpythron. A Megathron that's basically a harpy. Yeah, well, there was a goon doctrine. The rule was I could fly the Megathron no matter what the fleet, but the Megathron has to be able to do what the fleet does. So I ended up having to get the Megathron to be warps as fast as a harpy, aligns like a harpy, goes as fast as a harpy, is a shield tank, cap stable. Yeah. And you know, you've got a harpy fleet. The average harpy is about 55 million, and I'm cruising about in a 2.5 billion Megathron trying to do what the harpy does. The most ridiculous thing is this Megathron never died in the Fountain War. Went through the whole Fountain War without getting killed. It came back on fire so many times. But the best, well, it was basically a bullet sponge for the fleet because everybody would look at it and go, ooh, look, that's a big one. They all opened fire on that one, but they're all armed for taking out harpies, not for taking out this monster. So despite the fact it didn't have a great tank, it had a better tank than the harpies. So the Logi had time to lock it. Well, I'm trying to... That's it. If you want questions, try to get the mic.
So there are a lot of ships in EVE that are like inspired by sci-fi ships, such as the Typhoon, Battlestar Galactica, the Myrmidon from the Minbari Cruiser. I thought of doing a fleet with like ships like that fitted like this would be in the series.
Right, the best thing I can do is try it. Because it's the best way to find out if something works or not. Because you'll either die in a fire and then suddenly realise, hey, I've just revolutionised the whole way everybody plays. So it's a fine line between the two.
Laser Hurricane for the win.
I mean, I've done Laser Ravens before. I mean, it's not the most daft thing I've heard of.
Oh, wow.
That's it. Nobody? Right, well, I'm going to end this on one last slide. So, if you're new or even old to EVE, and you don't think you have the skill to go out and try new things, just remember this. You've just watched a presentation from a guy who got scrammed by this drone frigate for 40 minutes, waiting for somebody to come help him, because he let him get under the Oracle's guns. That's it. Thank you very much for coming along. That's it.